Paula from Pola Quilting, welcome or welcome back. In today's tutorial I'm still working with large tumblers. I had some leftover from my previous project from the table runners, so I thought let's build on it, and I had enough to make a small baby quilt. I would be leaving irregular shape, so it's something to consider when you're making your own project, that quilt doesn't need to be square, so you can work with different shapes. So I hope you will enjoy this tutorial, and let's get started. So first of all, I took all of those more Christmassy themed fabrics and also some red ones because I had in my bucket, and I cut full tumblers, and then whatever came out from the squaring up I just put in as a crumb blocks. So I will link in the description below where you can find the pattern for the tumbler and how to do the crumb blocks. Now I've put it a little bit different than my last tumbler quilt, so if you have watched my last video, they were going in one direction. Now I'm kind of facing them together, which is great, and I thought, I had those leftovers blocks from my table runners, so that will make a nice baby Christmas quilts for Project Linus, so perfect combination here. But I just feel like it's missing something. So I need to figure out now what I can do to those blocks to kind of add a little bit of oomph. And the only thing I've came up with is perhaps where I've got those 4 blocks with the, not the crumb ones, like plain fabric. So I've put them here, here and here. Maybe I can add something in the corners here. So if I snowball it, maybe with, I don't know, maybe green color. I don't have a lot of green on this one, so hopefully that will kind of make those focus points in those, like, patches of 4 blocks here. I don't know, let me do it and see how it looks. I took out first 3 tumblers, so from each of that cluster one of them, and I've marked with the pin which corner I need to snowball. Also I got some green fabric, it's a shirt fabric, but I love the color of that one, and I cut them into different sizes of the strips because I do not want them to be the same. I am not trying to match them later when they're going to be on the board. So as with normal snowballing, I'll just make sure that I know more or less how far I can go with it, and then I will sew with the quite narrow seam, so I'm going with 1/8. It doesn't have to be quarter, you can use normal foot. I'm using normal foot here. Just go with the smaller stitch length, it's going to be easier later when you want to cut it out. So the second one, again, angles do not have to be the same. I just want to add a little bit of detail to that quilt, so it's not so boring, basically. I really like that color. That color will add really nice pop to it. So let me iron it, square it to the shape, and put it back, and then I will repeat this process 3 more times for the rest of that quadrant, or however you want to call it. And I will take you back again to the design wall to see how it looks. Okay, so I've added the snowballs. They are, like I said, they are not even. They were not, they were not designed to be even. And I think that's what was missing in that design, kind of a little bit of pop of something somewhere. So I'm ready to put that quilt together now. Again, for how to sew the tumblers, check the video about the big tumblers. I will link it in the description below. I was thinking to put, the finishing bits here to make it all even, but actually with that layout I can leave that quilt irregular like this, So I will put it together, I will quilt it, and then I will show you how I'm going to bind it, because obviously I cannot use normal binding on this one because you need a little bit of curves there. So let me do that and I will show you the next step. So I've put my quilt together, I've sewn all the columns, or now they are rows because I placed the quilt other way around, and it looks great, but my OCD kicked in and I just don't like that this edge finishes differently to that one. I like symmetry, so what I will do, I will actually add another quilt block here, so another big tumbler, so I need 4 of those. It only means that I literally need to kind of unstitch probably like half an inch here to add those tumblers and then put the rows back together. So it's not a big job, but just to tell you that, you know, if you put it up and something doesn't work, it's kind of makes you think about it. Then let's just fix it there and then. You know, sometimes if it's, you know, if it was something wrong in the middle of the quilt, I probably would leave it. But because it's at the edge, I can still, you know, fairly easily, fix it, and the quilt will be ready. I finished quilting my quilt. I just used normal straight stitches and kind of was changing direction all over, going from both directions. So nothing fancy, but actually on this quilt I think it will look quite nice, because it's quite busy quilt already, so I didn't want to kind of distract with, you know, too much quilting. So now I've got edges which are straight and edges which are ragged, and I will leave them like that, like I've mentioned, and I will be using ready-made bias tape to put the binding. So I really recommend for anything which is not straight, using ready-made one which is cut in the bias. It's got already folds for you, kind of made for the stitching, so it's really hassle-free stitching. The only thing I recommend is kind of angle all of the corners on your quilt, because using that tape, it means you can just go around like this without doing that kind of going this way, then going up, and then creating that metered corner there. So I will quickly round up my corners, and you can use something, a circle, to do that, you know, plate, a cup or something. I'm just going to do that by hand. They don't have to be even those corners on that occasion. Here I'm not going to be angling this one, but when I will be coming with the tape, it kind of naturally will soften that edge here, so I will leave it as is. And just 2 other corners. Go a little deeper here. And the last one. So sewing with ready-made one tape is very easy, like I said, so let's get it to the machine and add it on. You want to set yourself so you're starting from the straight edge, because later we'll be joining those 2 edges together for the bias tape, so we want to have it, you know, easier. So this is the edge which is straight, so I will start stitching from here. I'm leaving a tail about 4 inches. Like I said, there is that fold here already, so you want to literally stitch in the fold all around the quilt. Very easy process. Even if you have a square quilt, like a normal quilt, and you want to use that ready-made bias tape, very easy process as well. You know, it's a one less step you have to worry about when you're making a quilt. And I would just say, round the corners. That takes the, you know, the issue of that metered corner out of equation. So especially if you are a beginner, I think that's a good thing for you to try. Just round the corners, much less to do, and then ready-made tape make it, you know, twice easier. Here I'm on the inside of the tumblers when the two tumblers meeting, so there's the other way around deep. So again, I will just go as far as I can, and then I will just pivot the tape and the quilt, and I will carry on. Very easy because this tape is a little bit of stretchy, so it will kind of adapt to what it needs to cover. Now normally you would stitch the bias tape or any binding to the right side if you want to finish on the left by hand, or on the left side first if you want to finish by machine at the top. So I should have actually done it on the left side, but I will be using decorative stitch to finish off, so I'm not so much worried about how it will look, because decorative stitches are quite forgiving. And here we are, we're back to the starting point. So I will again kind of stop now and leave a bit of a tail. And I just need to link those two together, and what I want to do, I'll just straighten this edge, and I want to overlap them to trim by 1/2 inch, because I'm sewing it with the 1/4 inch allowance, so 1/2 inch or even a little bit less, because this one is quite stretchy. If you cut it less, it's fine. If you cut it too long, make sure you go back and trim it, because otherwise you will have a kind of bump there. So again, I'll just put those two together against each other. Again, don't forget to narrow down the stitch length. So when you straighten it up back, you should you might have a little bit of pull there, which is fine because you can work it through, but don't make so you have kind of loose here. That will not look good. Okay, let's go back to the stitching. Change the stitch length back. I'm done. And then on this side I will use a decorative stitch, and as I'm doing it I just want to be little bit past that stitch from the top side coming out, so it will just nicely cover. And because I will be using decorative stitch, however it will look now at the front, it will be fine. So using the finger to kind of push the edges in, and use the other hand to pull out from under and kind of roll it over. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, it's coming out very nicely. So I will carry on and I will show you what the finished quilt looks when it's nicely washed and ready to go. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it will be useful for your own project. Since I've started recording it, my kids came back from school with appeal to bring some shoebox gifts. You may be aware of that program around the world. So this quilt and one of other quilts I had ready are going to be taking part in that program, and I hope it will bring a little bit of smile at Christmas. As usual, don't forget to check the description below for resources and links mentioned in this tutorial. I'm going to be working more with large blocks, so they will be coming in different shapes and sizes, but a lot of large blocks because they use up scraps quite nicely. I also started working on some magic number quilts and blocks, so if you don't want to miss out, please make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.